Everybody having a bit of fun and games with my stop and start record there. It jumped on, jumped off. It's been a couple of weeks, and I did put out there, I had made a promise to somebody to have a particular show format and theme, but if I missed, and I did forget what that might be because of the last few weeks. I did the extravaganza last week where I guested in 4 shows over the 2 days, and so I didn't have my own show. So it's been a couple of weeks. So if there is a subject matter, if there's something you would like me to hit on, please let me know. And as soon as you let me know, then I will make a note of that. Unfortunately, I've also had a down computer, so I'm on a loaner. So all of my notes and all of my reminders are gone. So today we're going to talk about chakras, and we're going to talk about trauma in relation to the chakras. If you want to call in with a question, you can feel free to do so on 724 444 7444. You'll be asked for a call ID and you'll key in 34517. Then you'll be asked for a PIN. If you don't have one, just click the 1 button and you're in. Now there's also number 8 if you want to put your hand up. If I see a caller there and your hand isn't up, I'll assume you're just listening. So welcome, Leanne, it's great to see you. So the chakras, I hear a lot of stuff about chakras, and as with often you hear me say, a lot of it's bollocks, you know, so people are reciting something they've read, not something they see. I do see the chakras. They recite old information or bits they got off the internet, etc. And so they perpetuate misinformation, and I'm never going to be up for that. I don't like it a whole lot. I'll just make an adjustment here so I can sit back a little bit. I don't like that a whole lot. In fact, I dislike it intensely. If you don't know it, then don't pretend you do. If you've read it somewhere and you're reciting that, then say so. It's a simple thing. At some point, I do know this, that if I'm listening to it and it's said and it's really wrong, I'm probably never going to listen again. And if anybody asks, I will always say the truth, because that's who I am. The chakras do respond to trauma, but we will start with, there was a bit of a thing about 5 years ago where all these people were diving in and saying, I found a new chakra and we're changing our spiritual DNA, etc. There's no such thing as spiritual DNA. There is body DNA. It's a physics. So understand the difference between physics and spirituality. There is a whole lot of physics that's being attributed to spirituality, and it simply isn't so. Spirituality is over here somewhere, and if you don't apply an understanding of the body and of physics to your knowledge when you're talking about chakras, when you're talking about energy therapy, when you're talking about auras, any kind of healing at all, if you can't absolutely understand the physics of the body, you best go back, I say, and learn some more, or stick it over here where you think you know it is. Calm order, of course, you can put a question in the chat. If you give me 5 minutes to get under the way so I don't lose it down the line, then I'll answer your questions. So there are approximately 148 chakras in the human energy field. Now, this is really important. The Indian tradition, the Vedic traditions, the Prana traditions have had an understanding of these 148 for thousands of years. There is nothing new just because you suddenly learned how to see it or you developed the skill. It means it was already there. We didn't just suddenly turn into a whole and complete different being. Hiya, Nancy, Tammy, Brightfoot, it's really great to see you, and of course I welcomed Leanne already. And for the other viewers that are just watching, if you wish to sign into the chat, you can do so with your social stream. If you go to type something into the chat and you don't want it broadcast to your Facebook page and that's how you've signed in, you just unclick the little boxes underneath and it will just come into this chat. You won't be putting it everywhere, unless of course you really want to. Yep, 148. Personally, I work with no less than 12 with anybody, never less than 12. There's also probably about 36 that I see regularly in movement and change. That doesn't mean that there aren't others that may or may not need working with, but for me that's pretty much the majority of what I see. No problem at all. You're in, sweetie. So that's all good, Tammy. So that's where we start. We start with that. Now we'll talk a little bit about the less common chakras and how I see them, if you like. We'll start with the basic 12 though. So we've got personal chakras, they meet and move through your body, and then we've got transpersonal chakras that sit a little bit out. They have a slightly different emphasis, and we have of course above and below the body, and then we've got an energy column that runs between them all. The biggest mistake I would say that I see regularly is this idea that, okay, we sit here and is this Joe's Crab Shack? It certainly is. Would you like crabs? I've got them to share, and I know what we're thinking there, and we're happy. Hiya, Laura. It's great to see you in house. So with the chakras, we start below the feet. I always start energy therapies at the feet because it's non-invasive for a start. I know Reiki tends to push to start at the head, but I like to start at the feet where you're looking at a person, you're looking at their face, and I get all of my information before I even start moving up the body. About 18 inches or so below the feet is what I call the earth star or root star. This is your basic driving connection to the earth. It just is pure energy, pure surging energy, and it is singularly the reason that you're often asked by healers, not that I like the term, but by spiritual workers, by those that are energetically working with you, to ground. Most groundings are woefully inadequate. In actual fact, a few little roots don't do the job for most people, and this is the one I see most regularly disengaged when there's issues of emotion and mental problems, as in actual disorders, psychological disorders, dysfunctions. This root chakra just gets sort of lost somewhere, and the head gets away with all sorts of stuff. Then we move into the feet. Now you have 2 chakras, one in each foot. They go up and down, okay, and I call them your root chakras, not the base. They're the root chakras. These can also be a little bit of an issue for people, not as much as the root star, but it can be an issue. And so these need to be health and functioning to get that earth energy, which people grab crystals for. But we really just need those 2 chakras functioning effectively. There's no thought in them. There's no mind in them. So if we're totally in those, we'll find surges of energy. And when it's not working with our other chakras, what we find is we don't know what to do with that energy, and we start running around like a blue-ass fly and get nothing much done until we've exhausted that energy supply, and then we try to sort of work out what exactly went on there. So when these flare up, or when you've worked on it or done a meditation that opens these up, you will feel energized. And then what we need is your chakras need to work together. So working on an individual chakra and expanding it without the central light column, without working it in with the other chakras, is a bit of a mistake. Wings, Tammy, could I ask you a favour? Could you go and get, do you mind, off my WizIQ the free 12 chakras webinar, and just Skype it to me, because I don't think you can put links into the chat. I've got a free webinar that you can go and you can activate, and you can look at these chakras. It's an hour long. It's 100% free. Has a little presentation slideshow, and it's about developing the central light column and working the chakras together, getting used to that. If they don't work together, then you can have all the desire in the world, you can have all the expression in the world, but you don't have the effect. You need that drive, you need that energy to manifest. I was asked about this today. You need the feet chakras, and you need the root star, the earth star open if you want to manifest anything, anytime. Blue ass fly, you dag. That's so funny. A blue ass fly, you know. That. So there we go. Then we move up, and we've got chakras in our knees. We've got 2, one facing forward and backwards through the body, like so. Thank you so much, Tammy. Backwards and forwards. These are about your cooperation, not just energy and path. So these are about how you cooperate with yourself. If you start things and then wish you didn't, you are not cooperating with yourself. If you have a thought or an idea or a desire and you're not following that through, you're not cooperating with yourself, and you're very likely to have knee issues. All right. People that don't like change are not cooperating with themselves, because very often they want the change, but they don't want things to change. So these needs can be very problematic in those sort of instances. So it's cooperation. It's also cooperation with others. Are you a team player or are you not? Because you've got your left side, which is radiating to your emotional, your right side, which is radiating to what you're actually doing. It's a very important factor to take in and take note of. If you get achy knees, then ask yourself, put your hands on your knees. Self-healing is really quite easy if you're open and honest, and if it's really impossible if you're not. So if you have trouble with self-healing, then get help. Get somebody objective to slap you around a little bit and offer you a new perspective on what your problems are, so that you can get it gone. You know, we shouldn't be just doing it constantly trying to fix things. Welcome, Cecily. It's great to see you in house. So very important. Then we move up to the base chakra, which is commonly referred to as the root chakra. The base chakra is at your groin, and it controls your coccyx, your very base of your spine, your sexual organs. But it's also about bringing through your past experiences, your memory. How we function, this energy is vital, and because it develops usually very much so as we enter into puberty, our own self-entraining comes into play here. That is our own responses to the teachings that we've got, whether we believe them, whether they're overridden. Our authenticity, our genuine nature is all in here. So when we've been abused either sexually or physically, those that have been physically beaten, verbally abused when they've tried to express who they are and tried to respond to life situations, this is the chakra that would be most affected and the one that probably would need the most repair. As we move on up, we've got the sacral, which is at your navel. It's about that far, depending on the size of your belly. It's about that far. The 12 chakras. Thank you, sweetie. Yeah, that's exactly right. The size of your belly. It's about this far below your belly button. If you put your hand there, this is your creativity. It's not just for women that it's creative, it's for men as well. Women use this chakra when it comes to nurturing babies and so on. So we've got a few things going on. But there's no single chakra for a single job. We're always fully engaged. And if we're not fully engaged somewhere, then we start to move into my heart's not in it. Think about the things that we say. We start to say, you know, I really would like this, but I don't think I can. It's two chakras not working together. So we need to also focus on getting all of these things together. Thank you. Is it in my Skype somewhere? Is it in my Skype somewhere? Did you post it to me? Because I don't think you can post it into this chat. Darling, you see my Fabmobile? And how do we know that one? Sorry, I've missed something there. Bright. Can you put it out there again? If you just let me finish my intro and going through the chakras, then well, basically, as you talk about, as I will get to you. If California, if you want to come on call, just press 8 and it will put a hand up for you. I've got your phone call. What we need to look at is our behaviours. When we've got past issues, the chances are pretty good we're going to have a bit of a screwed up base chakra, pun is intended, and how we use that energy, and whether it becomes anger, whether it becomes sexual dysfunction, whether it becomes a bullheadedness that doesn't acknowledge what we need to heal, what we need to resolve our lives and our situations, then we know. But there is no point, now this is where I was starting, I love you too, Cecily. There is absolutely no point in just going into your base chakra and going, I'm going to give this lots of energy and it'll be okay. That doesn't work. It never has worked. Hiya Tamarama, great to see you in-house. And it never will work. You need to engage your whole self. We move up to with the sacral, which is the I can't. We hear it in teenagers as they're developing in this area. I can't. They don't necessarily, it's personal pride. Personal pride is absolutely valuable. You need it, you want it. There's a difference between personal pride and pridefulness. If you don't have personal pride, you will not be clean physically. You know, you will not be, oh, okay, it hasn't come up, my precious. Why is that? Oh, there it is. I see it's hidden it over there. Awesome. I'll just post this into the chat for you. Thank you so much. And Tammy is the bomb. And send. I can't see my send button. There we go. All right. That's free. 1 hour webinar with visuals. Me in the little corner there going blah, 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 blah. A presentation, and you can go through some exercises that I've put in there so that you can develop this community of chakras that you've got. It is a community. We move into the solar plexus. It gets a lot of bad rap from New Ages in the past. The Chinese believe that and Qigong is based on the principle that the solar plexus is the center of your power. It is definitely, we'll say this very clearly, the center of your power. It is the single most versatile chakra you've got. When you want something, this opens up and goes heading out looking for it. Not your heart, not your throat, not your third eye. Your third eye tries to see it. But it's the solar plexus that you will first engage with people, which is why when it's discomforting, we will try and cover that with folded arms. We will turn to the side. We will try and do things to not allow somebody else's energy to get in there. She's the bomb. So we need to focus on that, allow for that. It is definitely there. We want them all working in unison. They fluctuate when they're full on out there, or they're in activity, which is fine. They will never be all the same. What you don't want is you don't want to be using this chakra for willfulness. You don't want to be using it to control others. And that's a misuse of power right there. No matter how you use it. Being manipulative is using this chakra incorrectly. Allowing yourself to be manipulated is using this chakra incorrectly. This is where we will apportion blame to others for our own actions. This is where we will rationalize, we will justify. There's a difference between exercising judgment and justification. Think about that a little bit. There's a difference between explaining and rationalizing, or trying to validate bad behaviors. Hiya, Light, it's great to see you there. So we need to have a look at it. The webinar's not a document, it's actually a little flash video training program. I've got a lot of courses on WizIQ there. And there's a few free ones that you might want to search out there. So that's the solar plexus. We move into the heart. The heart is not necessarily where your compassion comes from. It's traditionally put out there that it is, but not necessarily. It's where spite comes from. It's where jealousy and envy come from. And in fact, for chakras around the wrists, this is where I mostly see envy and jealousy. When it's localized, it will be actually around the wrist, which is the shoulders, the wrist, the arms are all ruled by the heart chakra. The inner shoulder is ruled by the throat, the outer shoulder by the heart chakra. It comes out, and it actually forms a V, a triangle coming out and then across into your sacral plexus, and then again comes out into the solar plexus. It's a very interesting Christmas tree look, if you want to think about it that way, from the heart to every single chakra. If any of them aren't working together, you're going to have problems feeling satisfied. It's where you feel dissatisfied is the heart chakra. All right. It's where we express love, but you can express love actually from any chakra. In fact, mostly we express love from our throat chakra, and it depends on how we express it, which is where we're actually communing with another person. What is your connection to another person? When I do relationship aura readings, those are the things that I'm looking for, because they will describe the dynamic of the relationship, and then you can determine what needs to be done to resolve issues, to heal anything from the past, etc. You can't do that by just going blip, let's chuck some energy at these people. You need to look at the dynamic and what they can change with that. Then we move into the throat chakra, which mine is like, and the throat chakra is about expression. If you can't say it, you can't have it. It's that simple. It's where resentment will sit for a lot of people, in the throat, because they're not expressing it, and it pushes energy down. It makes a person feel heavy, and very often it will transform itself into dietary and weight issues, because it's pushing down into that and suppressing one's intentions, suppressing one's heart, suppressing one's creativity. And that can be done. One chakra can suppress another. So you need to really be aware of that. And your body is never, your enemy. It is always doing exactly what you believe is going on. It's responding to what you believe is going on in your world. And so you need to watch that these energy centers are clearly functioning energy. They are an essential, a grouping and a central focal point to how your cells are using energy in that area of your body. And it's the same for everywhere. How your chest cavity, includes your lungs, it includes your rib cage, upper spine, it includes your heart. It's not just the center is your heart, chakra is your heart, as in your physical heart, not even close to that. It is that trigger point, it is that central energy point for the whole chest cavity. So when you think of it this way, front, back and around, your cells use energy in a particular way, and this is what it looks like. It goes right through your body, front to the back. There's like two funnels, one at the front, one at the back, and they zoom down and become this line which intersects with the central light column going up and down. So if we can allow ourselves to just be at one and at peace with that idea that if you're going to work this chakra and you don't work this one and this one, then all you're going to do is you're going to have an isolated chakra. If it's a problematic chakra for you, then it becomes what they call a dominant, or what I call a dominant chakra. And none of the girls that are my students in the chat here have actually got to that yet. You can convert a chakra if it's running the wrong way. Chakras can run the wrong way. You've got an outer chakra, you've got an inner chakra. They run in opposite directions, and they should. If they're both running the same way, depending on which way it is, it'll mean you'll go full on into something. Just as an example, if my throat chakras were both running clockwise, then I would just run off at the mouth and have nothing to say. I could be a politician. If they're going the other way, going anti-clockwise, and both are going anti-clockwise, then no matter how much I say, it will all be wrong. And I don't mean as in a lack of knowledge. It will come out wrong. The things that I think won't come out my mouth the right way. These two won't be working together. The things that I feel won't come out my mouth the right way, because these two won't be able to work together. And the word is they won't be able to. So you have an isolated chakra that is also a dominant chakra that also needs converting. So you can have quite a lot going on there. Chakras can slip away too, that we run the energy into the wrong space or through the wrong space, and that usually comes, no matter where the chakra is or which chakra we're talking about, that usually comes from a lifelong avoiding, evading, trying not to be looking at our feelings, our pain, our sorrow, whatever's gone on for us. The more we avoid it, in actual fact, the further away what we say and how we feel and what we believe and what we say and what is true and what we say become so far apart, and it becomes such a habit we don't even recognize it ourselves, that our words are not reflected in our actions. Now, there's a point where we will recognize it. There's points of lucidity for everybody. When you have that point of lucidity, if you don't go and find a way to deal with it, then it just continues. So when you have that point of lucidity, instead of hating yourself or getting depressed for a wee while, which is what a lot of people do, instead of doing that, determine, what can I do about this? If that doesn't reflect me, if that isn't who I want to be, if this is something that I've learned to be due to a past experience. I mean, let's get real here. You know, my childhood experience finished 50 years ago. No, 40 years ago, say 45 years ago. Then I moved into response, which is teenage, where you're responding, and then you move into creating it yourself. You move into an active phase of altering and evolving your own self, your own DNA, how you function energy. We need to haul our butts back and have a wee look at the traumas that are in our past and determine, well, hang on, if I haven't had that particular trauma for 30 years, why would my body still function it? So there's a question that needs answering. There's something that needs resolving. There's something that needs doing. We need to get to the past, deal with it, and get out of there, not live it. Not live it. Healing yourself constantly is living in the past. The third eye and the throat are interesting because they sort of do a little split with your ears, and your eyes are definitely your third eye. How you envision, how you see things. Hiya, Katie, great to see you here. How you envision, how you see things, and what goes on for you. With the throat chakra, it comes up and deals with the right ear, and the third eye deals with the left ear. So very often those that are working visionary, working mediumship, working with energy, are functioning that left ear, and so they sort of hear messages, or their left ear goes red. Those kind of things happen for them. Then the third eye is not just visionary, and it's not just to do with clairvoyance. All your chakras are involved in clairvoyance. It can't be any other way. So as all of these chakras are involved in clairvoyance, then we need to understand we interpret all information with our whole body. Again, if you have a dominant chakra, you will interpret more in line with that. That means if your solar plexus is dominant, you will interpret in line with your own will and intention and become a willful reader, or become an abuser. I don't want to use that because I've seen some that really are, but you can become sort of a bit bullying. You can be controlling of the experience that the person is requesting from you, rather than just informing and advising. Your interpretations can go skew if you've got a dominant heart chakra and you're resentful. If you put those things in there, the way you interpret information won't be positive. You'll be looking for negative spirits. You'll be looking for the nasties. And when you see something that doesn't feel so nice to you, when you feel it, or if you're not sure of it, you'll always radiate to the negative of that, rather than to checking it out, looking into it a little bit further. My left ear goes closed when I go to Walmart. I don't blame you. My left ear, my left eye, my right eye, everything closed when I went to Walmart. I was just like, ah. It's kind of funny. And I never saw one funny dressed person. I was like robbed. I was in the States for 7 months, and I didn't see one funny dressed person at Walmart. Everybody was kind of normal. So I must have gone to the wrong Walmarts. There's, so there's the third eye. Now it runs through the back, and it doesn't run straight through. It runs through and down. So it actually comes out at the base of the skull to enclose the pituitary, the pineal gland, and the hypothalamus right in the middle there, are all brought into play when you use your third eye correctly. And so we need to understand what's a visionary experience. Well, it's like looking at a picture and having very little information about it. So if you don't engage your throat chakra, if you don't engage your ears, if you don't engage your heart, you can't have an empathic feeling, you can't get full range information. Just a truth, you know. So a person who's running purely on a visionary skill will have to do a lot of interpreting around that, and quite often they might just muck that up. So developing the whole system, if you want to read correctly and in depth, is absolutely vital. Then we go to the crown chakra. There are three. When I was learning, I remember all of the books, and everybody that was talking about the chakras in the crown would say it can be white, it can be purple, or it can be gold. And I thought, well, can't all the chakras? I wasn't seeing them then, but it was a thought I had back then. And then I realized there's actually 3 chakras, and they're not sure what they're seeing. In other words, or they're not seeing it at all to know. So the crown chakra essentially is our timing. It brings in, what do we know about timing? What do we know about history, past lives? When this opens up, people get a massive interest in past lives. When it opens up properly, there's no such thing as a closed chakra. So we say opens up, expands properly, as opposed to it's closed and now it's open. Anybody that says you have a blocked chakra or a closed chakra, I would immediately stop listening, because it tells me they don't know what they're talking about, really. There's no such thing as a blocked chakra. It's energy running from your cells. For it to be blocked, you would be dead, or you would be in hospital somewhere suffering horribly, because you're not processing energy in that region. So we're all going to process it. It's just disparate areas. What's in conflict with what's not working, where's the flow not happening correctly, where's it built up too much, where is it striated. There are a lot of little tools that I use to show how that works. So we need to get a grip on that. So the crown chakra is your timing. If you feel your timing is off all the time, is it working with your desire? Is it working with your heart? For manifesting, you need this in play, your heart, your solar plexus, and you need your sacral plexus. At the very least, if you have all of your chakras in play, you can manifest very quickly. Sometimes your manifestations have not been in line with what your desires are. And so when you do expand, you need to undo what you've done, so that you can bring yourself back on track, bring yourself back in line. The important thing about that is it isn't always comfortable, and you don't feel like you're creating it when a whole lot of things suddenly go bang, bang, bang wrong. And sometimes that's just a response to the world and the timing and the fact that you haven't put in reserves, you haven't planned. Planning is important. If you haven't planned and something goes wrong, it can become a major disaster, whereas if you have planned, it becomes a minor irritation. So we need to think of those things up here: planning, timing, our past lives in relation to our future. We can't see ahead if we can't see past. I'm promising you that. So if a person doesn't deal with their past, they are more likely to suffer with depression, because they can't see ahead. Literally, as a hypnotherapist, if you ask a depressed person what they see for themselves in 2 years' time, or 5 years' time, or 10 years' time, quite often they simply cannot see it, and they simply cannot tell you. In fact, I haven't met one yet that could. They can tell you what they would like, but when you ask them to envision it, they can't do that. Manifesting, how to get all in line and working, you elaborate on that for sure. We'll just talk about the last 2 of the main 12, and that's your third eye, your upper crown. Your upper crown is inspiration. If you need inspiration, if you're in a moment, if you're in a sticky spot, if you don't have this upper crown engaged, then for that, rather than shutting it down and going into your base chakra, which is your past, which is what you know, if you don't allow that inspiration, then things don't happen for you. You don't need to manipulate circumstances. When you have an inspirational upper crown working, then all of the right things seem to just magically happening, because you are communicating and you are being attracted at that level. So that means another person may not even be aware that they've got what you need or can help you, but they are just in the right place at the right time, because there's a law of attraction, and there always will be. Or you can see that person all the time and you have the right conversation with them. There's nothing magical about this. This is physiology. This is the energy we radiate. It's the energy they radiate. If we find that we feel like we're stonewalled everywhere, the chances are pretty good we're not engaged correctly, and the area that we need to engage to bring the whole thing to a cohesive whole. You want to be cohesive, not scattered. Then we've got the soul star. which is way up. That's about 18 inches or more. Give this a little variation up and down. Just like we have longer arms, longer legs in different bodies, we have slightly different settings here. And the soul star is that magical space that very often when we do meditations that are taking us up and up and up, we're going into that space. It's unreal, it's just loving, it feels fabulous, and that's because it's pure energy. And so we can interact with others, whether we call it astrally, whether we call it mind melding, whether we call it soul connections, whatever you like to call, you're usually going to have to engage that. You can't just go boom to boom. You can go on a heart-related communication with somebody else. You can have a heart-based communication, but it's still going to be in and within your own limitations and within theirs. When you go up here, you're having something that is so much different and may never, I'll be very clear, may never manifest on this planet if it isn't what they're seeking to. If you're talking another person, I get a lot of this with women saying, well, I have these meditations or I have these dreams and I go winging up there and I have this wonderful time with this man or this woman, and then I come back and I see them every day and they're married and they've got this going on, and I'm like, well, that's an all-loving space. That's not a relationship on the planet. So if it's not to be, it's simply not to be just because you want it. Just thought I'd put that out there. So that's the soul star. Now, if you want to manifest on the planet and you want to do it quickly, then you've got to come back to you. You can't really do it by just going, and I hear people talk rubbish. I heard a woman say, $1,000. This was just yesterday or the day before. Just found its way into my account to pay my mortgage, unbeknownst to me, don't know how it got there. I simply don't believe it. I don't care who you are. I really don't care who you are. That is just unbelievable. To my mind, then you better go and check your bank account, because they're going to come looking for that. We had a couple here in New Zealand, the Westpac Bank accidentally put a few $1 million into their account. Believe it or not. I think it was something like $6 million. It was a ridiculously large amount of money. So they literally cashed in, transferred the money overseas and flew off to China. They were Asian. One came back in the last year or two. And next thing, there's this worldwide manhunt because they're criminals. They stole the money because they knew it wasn't theirs. So they lived up high for a wee while, and I don't know where one of them's gone, but the woman came back to New Zealand. And no matter how much money she had overseas, living that way probably wasn't so much fun. So think about it, please. When you're acting honourably, in your manifestations, then you tend to get good ones. If you're acting dishonorably, the chances are pretty good. You don't feel good about that inside yourself, so things will probably go wrong for you one way or another. Or at the very least, you won't enjoy it because you'll have this guilt or you'll have this fear, whatever else is going to go on with that. So to manifest completely, you need to have a fully integrated energy system for things to happen very quickly. Now, very quickly means also making decisions. I get very often people saying, I want to manifest this and I'm having trouble with that, and I'll say, well, look, just sell that car, get rid of that, chuck that job, get rid of that, and then you'll be open. There it is. It'll be there for you. And then I'll hear back and I'll hear, oh, I can't do that. I can't get rid of the car. I might lose, a few dollars on that. Or what am I going to do without the car? Or no, I don't want to chuck that job just yet because I've got this and this and this, or I've got these benefits, or I've got that going on. Then you don't want to manifest as much as you want to keep what you've got going. There's a point of manifestation you need to decide. What do I want to keep going? What am I prepared to walk past? And you simply cannot in your own mind see the sense or logic, surely, in saying, I want to keep everything the same, but I want to manifest that quickly, when I can't manifest it quickly when I keep everything the same. Do you understand? If I want money and I want freedom and I want to be able to move around, there is no point in me forgetting what my motivation is and then tying myself down. I won't like it, things will go wrong, etc., because you've got off track, or you're not on track, or the track that you're on in your mind isn't followed through with your heart, with your intention center. If you're saying, I want to, just as an example, I want to trip around and be free, and then you tie yourself down to a minimum 12-month contract in any way, shape or form, job, home, whatever, you get a boyfriend, that you care about. You've just gone against your own manifestation. So where are you getting in your own way? Where do you forget what it is that you need to take yourself forward, or to create something, logically, what can you do or not do? And so kind of an important thing to look at. when you've got, I've just got another thing going on here. What's that one? Oh, rain. Okay, she meant to click the link. That's all good. Okay. So when you've got this sort of thing going on, usually when something doesn't manifest quickly, there's a belief system, one, that has to change. Two, you haven't got all of your ducks in a row, which is your chakras. That can be your past and your belief, and it can be easily as much your present. If your present isn't something you want to let go or change very much, expect knee problems. Expect your hips to give you a little bit of a dissing, which means lower back problems, those sort of things, a bit of discomfort. But at the very least, expect dissatisfaction. When a person wants to manifest something, they usually do. The people that are very good at that know that. They know, oh, look, if I just get rid of this, it'll give me free time and I can then devote my time and attention to that. They're not thinking about, am I going to lose money or gain money? They're thinking about, what am I trying to manifest? Very few people are seriously and genuinely just trying to manifest money. Those that do it very well. They do it very, very well. Most people don't. They're trying to manifest a lifestyle, or they're trying to manifest happiness, or they're trying to manifest a relationship, or whatever it is. Therefore, you need to be in line with what it is that, where it is that you are not creating what you want to be. If you want to have a relationship with somebody, just as an example, whether you've got a person in mind or not, do you play games at the beginning of that and then go to clairvoyance and say, look, I have this trouble and I don't know where I'm at and I don't know where he's at? Chances are pretty good you're playing games, that there's this pussyfooting around, there's a lack of honesty. The same with creating for your future, creating a career. If you're not looking for a new job, you cannot expect one to just drop into your lap. If you're not available for a new love because you're harping on about an old love, you cannot expect the right man or woman to just appear before you, because when you do meet them and when you do talk to them, you won't recognize them. There's this whole idea of destiny, and to me, destiny is a consequence of your actions. It isn't something that happens despite your actions. Just as an example, you're not destined to go to jail unless you commit a crime and you're not very good at it. Then destiny comes into play as a consequence of your actions. Not ever is it it wasn't just chucked at you. So think about that a little bit. Destiny and fate, consequences. Karma, consequences, cause and effect. None of these things are spiritual concepts. This is how we live our life concepts. If you don't pay your bill, the power gets turned off. You might rubbish the power company every time you pay your bill. Why? You want the power. If you don't want to pay them, turn it off yourself. Live without it. You probably could. You probably could live without it. Whether you want to or not, it's a different story. And if you say to me, but I live in a cold environment, it's so cold I would freeze without it, then I would say, move. All that money you save, not using all that power, move to somewhere that's a bit warmer. People have lived in freezing and very hot conditions without any amenities for thousands of years. It's not that we can't, it's that we don't want to. Not very good at it. So it's that we don't want to. So you need to cooperate with your inner desires. And so the very first thing, I suppose, if you want to manifest, is you need to understand what you're trying to create. What am I trying to create? Am I trying to create a job where I get paid $100,000 a year? If I am, then I know that I have to go and train and put myself in a position where somebody paying that kind of money wants me. There's no use sitting there and going, I just think somebody should come and give it to me. That is the most entitlement-riddled bollocks that a person could ever come up with. There is no need to be putting those kind of energies out there, which is gimme, 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 and I'm not going to do anything for that. I see and hear that a whole lot when it comes to the law of attraction, and it's just rubbish. It's bollocks. It's not going to happen. If you want a lifestyle where you can go surfing every day, fishing every day, where you can just enjoy that, then be prepared to live on minimal income. However you get that, you will not want to be doing much to get that in the way of hours, so that you can devote as many hours as you like to enjoying yourself. Now some people say, well, I can work my ass off, I can work 70 hours a week, I can do that for 10 or 15 years, and then I can live off the fat of the land, what I've created. That's true too, but they did the work first, they put the effort in, and then they get to enjoy it. So we need to really think about it. If we want 100, I see very often this, write a check to yourself for whatever it is you want, $1 million, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not going to happen, and you know it when you write the check. So you need to think about it. How can it happen? Do I want to put the effort in to receive that? Can it happen now, or will it take 10 years to achieve? What do I need to do to make that happen? And until you start following through with that, you haven't got an intention. You simply have wishful thinking, and it becomes exaggeration, and it hangs around in the third eye, and then it's one of those situations that just never plans out. The third eye is the rule of is the area of exaggeration. We've all seen those people that have these big highfalutin ideas and never follow through with any of them. That's because they're stuck in the third eye. It's become dominant, and the throat isn't engaged properly with the heart, nor is it with the intention center. And the third eye isn't engaged with the intention center or the base chakra. So we need to really think about this. And other people start rolling their eyes. If you say for the 50th time, I'm going to do this, and people just go, or they're not responding to you anymore, then take that as a note. People always tell us our stuff. They always feed it back to us. And when we don't want to hear it, when we're avoiding it, we just get nasty with them. We tell them to piss off. We decide they're not friends anymore. They're not nice. They're hurtful. We've got a whole pile of words that we chuck at people for telling us the truth about ourselves. So we need to be really honest, really brutally honest with ourselves if we want to manifest quickly, and there's no real other way to go about that. Another area that's a common issue is the male and feminine aspect. Male's on the right shoulder, feminine's on the left. On the left is the one that I often see that has like a plug. There's like usually a green or a dark green, and it looks like a plug, and there's usually a dark hole in it. That doesn't change for everybody. What's around that can change. It can be golden, it can be red, it can be messy, all sorts of things depending on what's going on. But I call it the chip on the shoulder. I'd heard the term all my life, there's that one's got a chip on their shoulder. When I saw this, it was instant for me that I realised that this was the chip that everybody was talking about. And it's an unresolved early childhood experience. That means you may have been brought up by a parent that wasn't available to you. You may have had a nasty mother. It's not likely to be siblings. It's more likely to be a mother figure than anybody else. But it can, of course, be the father as well, or both. And when those experiences are ongoing, and at some part you haven't been able to integrate the experience, and so it sits there and acts like a filter. That means you're prepared for the worst. You expect to be mistreated. Whatever it is that went on there, you will recreate. There's not a maybe there. You will recreate it, and you will continue to live it until you remove that, until you can get rid of it. It's opposing chakra, and they work like a seesaw. They should never be even either, is the male aspect. And when I see problems with this one, it doesn't present in the same way. Usually it presents in the wrong position, and it isn't moving in balance. So we say you're imbalanced with the feminine and the masculine, which means with the masculine, it's unlikely that you'll be able to do actually productively the things that you need to do, or take action on your emotions, those sort of things. And so we need to see the balance in this with both the men and the women. A lot of people are fairly well balanced in this area, so the biggest problem I tend to see is that the dispositioning of the masculine aspect and the filter on the feminine aspect. Sometimes it's as simple as not being nurtured as a child, being adopted out, and never having worked those experiences through within your mind and your heart and your soul, if you like. When I say the word soul, I think of that as just your essence, the absolute depth of who you are. When I talk about relationships with people that I would like to have, and in particular one day with a man, I want that depth of experience, that if they can't open up to me, then I'm not, because you can't do it. One person can't open up to another person who's refusing. You'll always match. Even if you are capable of more, you will match. That's the way it is. So if it doesn't work and a person really isn't allowing that, you'll have to step away. And the word is have to. You'll feel like I have to step away. One of those, the areas of dealing with that is kind of important. We also have a transpersonal heart chakra which sits out here, which very few people have activated. I see it occasionally, but only very occasionally. When this one's activated out here, essentially it means that you're able to give. And I don't mean the person who says to me, I'm a giver. As soon as a person says, I'm a giver, then you know that they're counting what they're giving, and they're not really. That means that they have a price on their giving, that because of what they do, they expect something back. There's a difference between giving with love and then giving for love. So ask yourself that question. When I do for others, when I give, and when I am I sharing myself, or am I doing that to get love back? This isn't a bad thing, and it's not a criticism, and it shouldn't be treated as one, but it's what people do, and they become lonely, they become resentful, they become sad, they become grief-stricken, depressed when they don't get back what it is they think they deserve, one way or another. So that's something to take on board. There's also off to the left of your chest, their transpersonal heart sits out from the body a little bit. When I first started working with guides, this one pained me a lot, and it hurt. It hurt a lot. And this was understanding your roots, I suppose, your cosmic roots, your energetic roots, your communication and interaction with other beings, from a heart level, from a heart-based level. Quite an interesting one, lots going on there. There's the hara line, runs straight up and down the front of your body, and that means that what you see and what you reflect in others is what you are. It's kind of an interesting anomaly, but it's definitely there. Above your head to the left, above to the right, there's two more, and they run down to opposites. So you have a cross that forms across your body, and these run down both sides. And if you want to say what does that look like, then I would say, and I will do a class on this one day, it looks like the Kabbalah. So the more developed this is, and it's a crossbar, I call it polarity balancing, and polarity balancing is true polarity balancing, not just up and down or not just front and back. It's the polarity balancing that I teach my students at some point. Later on in the advanced areas, polarity balancing, correct and proper balancing. You take all of these energy works to literally pull a person's energy into line when things are horribly wrong with them, and it pulls them in. They can actually feel sick sometimes when you do it, and then things start to change. So you can change things within the energy and within the body and then start living it, or you can change things in your mindscape and then start working it through your body. I have to say that the worst you're welcome, Rachel. The worst thing you can probably, or not the worst, but the hardest thing you can do is try and do it from a mind level, which is where the psychology, I guess, work comes from. I went to hypnotherapy because of the speed of it. I don't like the idea of people working for 5 or 10 years to not resolve their issue in the end, or even if they do resolve some of their issues, to still feel that they're not who they want to be, or they're not projecting what they want, or to not have evolved their body beyond illness. So you can work in the body, in which case then you live it. You do the work bang to bang very quickly, and then over the next few months you'll see the results of that effort. Very quickly you'll see changes in attitude, how you see things will change, and then you move into creating. So we start changing and breaking down first, so things seem to get a little worse for a while, and then we start being creative with our new knowledge, our new interpretation of the world. With the polarity balancing, it's almost like a structure, is the best way I can call it, and it's an energetic holding to force you to bring your body, your energy back into line. When I say force, I mean that from the structure of the energy, as opposed to forcing you as an individual. You're on my table because you want something. You come to me for anything because you want something, and I will give you what that is based on how I read your energy rather than what you say. And that might sound terrible, but I've said that a lot of times because it's true. I read and see aura. I'm not guessing anything that I say as a rule. So I know I've got a conversational style, but yeah, I'm not guessing too much. So the is doing mine first. Yeah, chop, chop, stab, stab. This is what confuses me, how to fix it. You've got a number of options. So when you say how to fix it, firstly, you are what you are. We're not fixing or changing who you are. What we're doing is bringing out who you are. In the art circles, or just a little weenie story, I guess. In art circles, they say, you go to a teacher, you learn from a master or you learn from a teacher, and you come out painting like that teacher for a few years. They say even up to 5 or 6 years for some people, or more for others, and some never stop painting like their teacher. And then your own personality starts to come through in your work. You get the confidence up, and then you start painting your style. You start putting it out in your way. You start expressing yourself. And so then what we look at as we bring that back is, okay, you can do that over 6 or 10 years. I'm forever doing things backwards or another way around. I'm always looking for the fastest way through things. When I learnt to paint, I learnt to paint first, and then I learnt to draw, and then I went and studied. And by the time I was studying, I already had my own style. I didn't need to copy anybody's style. And so I was just developing what I could do, as opposed to learning somebody else's stuff, and then going and then trying to apply it to my life. So the ways you do this can be very quick. There's hypnotherapy, the quickest way I know. Bang, get in there, get it sorted. You can do reprogramming, as in DNA reprogram, which is at the moment my big excitement. I'm very excited about that program and that style of program. You can do the energy work with a view to resolving yourself. The energy work will alter your DNA, but a combination of both is phenomenal. It will alter your DNA, but one of the things with the hypnotherapy and with the style of work that I do anyway is I believe you should understand what's going on. If there's always a hands-on without information, you will use that energy however you like, and you might think, I'm tired this week, I'm going to use the energy for that. There is no rule around that, and that's why I developed these what I call advanced energy therapy techniques, which my students are heading towards. Miss Wings and Ms. Leanne are heading towards the advanced techniques, which are converting chakras, which forces them into line, and the polarity balancing, which hauls this. It's just like, and then it holds it. So it's a structured, a structured and temporary holding pattern. It holds long enough for you to restructure yourself. So they are restructuring techniques, and then over a period of months you start living those as well. So that's two ways that you can do that, and a combination of the two is phenomenally successful. Nothing should be hard work. It shouldn't be a case of I've got to go out and do this and I've got to play with this chakra. You develop the chakras and it's a starting point. It's never going to be the end point. I draw and then paint, and then I do go to art class, but because it's fun, it isn't my style. Yeah, well, the thing here was just an example of how we can learn. It wasn't that everybody should go and do that. But yes, you understand if it's not your style, you're doing something that is fun, you're enjoying the community, you're enjoying being in a space, as opposed to expressing yourself. Do you understand? You're finding yourself a space away from your normal day-to-day life, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But I was just using this as an example for when we get into healing ourselves. I say it time and time again, we should get in, heal ourselves, and then we should get out of there, because we should not be spending our lives, we should not be spending 5 years, we should not be spending 10 years. I think that if you start a healing process, if you can't see significant and magnificent changes within a 12-month period, then you dump that and go and find something else, literally, because they've just got themselves a client. If it's one person, if you're going from person to person to person, that's like going from doctor to doctor to doctor, and they'll keep chucking different stuff at the same issue, and you'll walk away with the same issue. You'll feel better for a time. It can become addictive. I know energy can become addictive. Meditations can become addictive, that you go into that for the escapism, not for the healing. So think about, what do I intend for myself? If I want to change my life, then I really do have to evolve. What is my womb training? What is my early years training and life? You know, it's been understood for a long time. Nobody's really just had a lot of success in finding how to get it gone. You know, people go to counselling for 10 years and they come to me at the end of that and say, well, I know what I've got, why I've got it. In other words, they've got a label now, but I've still got it, and it's still there, and I feel better, but I've still, and it just goes on and on and on. So one of those areas that we need to look at is bringing that to a close. Stop living in the past. We hear spiritualists say it all the time, you need to live in the present, and then they spend all their time telling you that what you've got today is because of your karma or because of your past life, which is absolute bollocks. Anything you've got going today, you've created in this lifetime, regardless of past lives. You know, if you've gone around and you've slayed people in a past life, if you've gone bloody massacring and all of this sort of stuff, and gory and everything, you might have been proud of yourself in that life. You may have walked away from that feeling like you were a hero. If you were in Roman times, you definitely were. If you were a Spanish conqueror, you definitely were. If you did it for self-defense and you saved your wife and your village, you definitely were a hero. So these are not the spaces and the places to be looking at what's going on there. If you're born with a personality, this I do know and am certain of, that personality is very likely to have preceded the physical life here. But I also understand that in physics, the particles in your bodies come come from other people, from other environments, and so we know that that has a level of memory. So some of our past life that people are looking at or remembering may not even be our own. So we're kind of like a recycled mixed bag here. So keep your focus on now, keep your focus on this life and this life's experiences, and you'll always find the solution. I worked with a lady a while back who was told from very, very prominent world-renowned healers that and guides and readers and you name it, she'd seen a lot of people, that she had a cancer in her breast, and that cancer was caused because of a past life, and she'd done all of this stuff over years to try and get rid of it. I happened to be in her country for a wee while, and somebody else happened to say, I think you could benefit from seeing Dorothy, and she came along and spent the whole first session nearly arguing with her over that it was something of this life. And she was so mind washed into this area and her belief that even when she was talking about what she heard her own guides say, it's filtered, it's moved into that. And so I had to actually ask her, what happened when you were 12? Something happened then, and that's what's causing this here. It's a mother issue. Even though I told her already 2 or 3 times, a breast cancer is a mother issue. It's a belief about life and mothering and death. She finally admitted that her mother died when she was 12. How is it that somebody can tell a person that a past life is more important than this life? It isn't. Just saying, you've done that one. It's over. Okay? So get your focus into the present, get your focus into this life, and then think about those areas that you struggle with and that you struggle with now. It's so much easier, it's so much more bite-sized, it's so much more manageable. If you're talking about resolving issues, if you're talking about healing yourself, you get somebody who can facilitate that, who can get to you, grab you by the scruff of the neck, lift you up and say, all right, this is what we're going to do. And all you have to say is, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, that's what we're going to do. You need to be in agreement to get the results that you want. Now, that's still in line with the question of manifesting, by the way. You need to be in agreement, in complete cohesion, rather than scattered if you want to manifest anything, in particular if it's large. The larger it is, the more cohesive you need to be, the more engaged you need to be, and not be warring at, I want to travel and I want to fall in love with a man today. The two don't mix. So even saying them, you should be aware of a conflict in that. If you want to meet a man and then want to meet a man who wants to travel with you later, you have a different focus straight away, or a woman. Straight away you're talking about, now I want to meet somebody with a longer view of that. So this is your crown chakra coming into play with time frames. Okay? Gives you time frames. Time frames suggest you can't do it all at once. And if you want that person to travel with you, you need to bring your cohesive energy into creating a relationship first. Then you need to focus on that these are the things that I want for my future and in my life. So I need somebody who's going to be open to that. They don't have to want that right now. They don't even, that's the law of attraction. They don't even have to know they want it right now. What happens is you have the conversation and then they realize they want it, or they have the conversation and you realize you don't want that so much as you want what they're offering or what they've got on the table or what their ideas are, or you come to some kind of lovely mutual arrangement that could be completely different. So it's working out those angles and bringing them forward. Get into the past, solve it, move right along. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to break down every relationship you've got, dump your jobs and cut and run. If you do have a need for that, then you will find that you have the understanding of yourself and the need and the drive and the central strength, the core, to be able to do that. You'll be able to move right on along. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Bright. And so you can move right along. You can create something for yourself that's in the present. So we no matter what therapy you look at, you're going to be looking at a little bit of the past, then you're going to be looking at the present, and you're going to be looking at the future. There's a reason things run this way, is once you get into the present, we need to stay there. Now, little wee bits and pieces may come up in your future, but they will be absolutely nothing like what was in your past, and they will be absolutely nothing like what you've been carrying for all of this time. And your manifestations will change with regards to that. The ones that don't, as you move into future, you can go, I've changed. This is wonderful, that's wonderful, my attitude is great, but this area here I'm struggling with. Then you hone in on that particular area, that particular belief, that particular source. The best thing, I suppose, about DNA reprogramming is usually you're not going to have those residuals. But just about any other kind of therapy will have some residuals that are outside of the framework of the program you're doing. So be very clear on what it is you're trying to resolve, what it is you're trying to take forward when it comes to those sort of things. When you're working with your chakras and we're working with trauma, recessed chakras are a really serious issue. That means they go inwards, and when you see, it won't be all of them, it'll only be one. They go into the body, they sort of move back and hug close to the body. That's where a person will always be overridden by another person, even when the other person isn't trying. Their intentions or their desires will always, the word is backfire. They will backfire, not just misfire, but backfire. So there will be a sense of everything not working out. Nothing will go to plan. Very often, if you see a recessed chakra like that, again, when we get these very set chakras, when we get very set patterns, they've come from your childhood, whether you want to admit it or not. They really have. They're too well formed in the body. You can see things when they are more recently altered, because the body, the DNA, the way it's changed varies. It's through 4 different stages, and the last stage is the easiest to undo, i.e. this guy had an affair on me, I was brought up really well, everything was great, I made a poor choice, and now I'm not quite trusting. Dead easy to knock out, really, really easy. But when it gets down to those womb, this is how my mother felt and how I see the world when I was born, this is what her relationship was like with my father, that's all energy running through your body and altering your DNA before you're even born. Your personality's in order, but now your vision, your environment understanding is a little skew-if. It doesn't necessarily have to be good or bad. Depends on the parent. If as an example, if you had a parent who was depressed through their pregnancy, you are predisposed to being depressed. There's no doubts about that. That can be undone. When you are born, from that 1 to 8, 1 to 7, 1 to 8 time frame, you're just a little sponge, you're a little absorber. So whatever your environment is like is being taken on, and you will filter, whether you like it or not, whether you want to or not, you will filter that into your adult years. When you get to your, what I call the responder years, which is your 8 to 18, 20, where you are actually now fighting back to a certain extent, you're deciding on a course of action to best function within the parameters of what you feel the environment is, then you will find that that is a little bit easier to undo as well, because there's more of a conscious understanding of it. What are we talking about over there? Just saying, if everything seems to be working out and you are happy as a buttercup, there's less to fix. If you're happy as a buttercup, I don't know why you would even be contemplating it. I don't even know why a person who is happy would think that they need healing. What would you need healing from? If you've got problems within your body, if you've got issues within your body, then something is wrong in the way you're processing energy. Something is wrong in your view of the world, whether you believe you're under attack, whether you believe people don't truly love you. So being happy as a buttercup is something that comes from the inside out. It's not something that we present to the world and say, I'm happy, but, and then there's that but I've got this inside me that is causing me strife. It's creating difficulties, because the way I interact with the world and the way I believe and see the world causes me to hook up with the wrong people, causes me to have these negative relationships with individuals, causes me to sit in my room after smiling at everybody thinking, fuck, I hate the world, causes me to go out and be one person while inside I feel like I'm another person. So there's no need there's no need for everybody on the planet to come racing and have energy therapy. But where there's or hypnotherapy or healing of any sort or any nature, there's no need for anybody to in actual fact get a reading. If they are that happy, they would never bother. Why would you bother? Everything's fine. One thing I do know is when people are happy, when I've worked with clients and they've done programs or whatever, they keep in touch with me for a little while, and then they less and less and less, and then when they do, it's just to say good day, and that's when I'm happiest, because I know they're where they need to be. They're happy in their life in general, and they're moving on through their life, and now and again they'll have a little crisis and they'll want to have some information on that, or they'll want to know if there's anything that they need to change or whatever, but it's minor now. It's just little corrections, it's just a little look, a little bit of support, ongoing support for years with some of my clients and students. And so what you're looking for is, for me, when they're not coming to me with tragedy and when they're not coming to me with body pains and aches, I know that it's a job well done on both parts, on their part and mine. So if stuff in a reading seems not good, that's the stuff to work on. Yeah, well, I suppose there's no doubt about that. The word not good. The word's not good. Um, there's if you've got problems in your body, it needs to be worked on. If you have ongoing resentments and angers, if you have unhappiness, if you feel like you're not creating what you want, if you have dissatisfactions, there's various varying degrees to what you need to work with. And that's my whole point in having different programs. Obviously, a person who's just wanting to work on their dynamic with men doesn't need to go and do a full reprogramming, but a person whose life's trash probably should. A person who has disease and disorder and believes in cancer and believes in inherited disease probably needs to have a reprogramming because somebody taught them that. They might have had an overly cautious parent that ran off to the doctor every time they fell over and hurt themselves. They don't even remember that. They get to an age where the parent's more confident and a bit more comfortable, and then as they get older, they feel that they need drugs for every little thing that goes wrong with them, or they're highly sensitive to minor illnesses or disorders and stuff. Crabgrass. Okie dokie. So essentially, there's a difference between getting a reading for information and having your energy read or an understanding of what's going on. The truth is, even if you're not quite sure how you got to where you are, you know what your problems are. Nobody comes to a reader or an energy therapist or a counsellor or a hypnotherapist because they haven't got a problem. They come because they have problems. They have something they want to rectify or fix. There are what I call isolated times where all you need is information. That is, a nice person with everything normally going right comes into relationship issues with their partner and they want to work out the best way through that. That's a totally different thing. You're then, or I'm then in an advisory role to help them find the best way through it using the reading of the energy, so to see exactly what's going on there. That doesn't mean they need reprogramming or they need to rechange their life. Things go on in life. We can fall over and cut and hurt ourselves. Doesn't mean that you need to have this big and deep and meaningful healing going on. You apply some energy to that, it should heal. I've been hurt heaps of times, fallen off horses, punched in the head, kicked in the head, you name it. It's the things that don't heal, the things that revolve and evolve into an ongoing issue, pain that won't go away, this sort of stuff. That tells you that there's something bigger and deeper going on within yourself that needs to be released. Sometimes it's a belief in the doctor. DIDS, D-I-D-S, doctor-induced disease. One of the biggest things around at the moment. The New Zealand Medical Association is having a bit of a slam at our own doctors. I'm thinking, if that's our medical association, surely the doctor should just bow down and say, yes, okay, we'll follow that immediately. Lots of interesting stuff going on there. I'm going to wrap up the show, and I hope you all enjoyed it. We've run a little bit over time. So thank you very much for coming, everybody. And if you want to check back in the archives, if you want to have another look or get in touch with me, let me know. We'll be back same time, same bat channel next week. If you've got a particular subject matter you would like me to engage in, just get in touch. Otherwise, visit my website, www.energytherapies.co, one word, and we can have a chat too if you feel a need. Ciao for now.